Hello everyone. This is lesson 1 of our Learning TradeStation series. My name is Jesus Nava. I'm the Director of Client Training and Education here at TradeStation, and I'll be the host and presenter for today's training material. I want to welcome all our attendees that have joined us from all over the world. We have about 70 people attending this class, and just to make sure that my microphone is on and you can hear me, use the next few seconds to type in the city and the state that you're connecting from in the chat window at the bottom left of the player, and that way I'll confirm that you are online. Great, thank you guys. That way you can see how everyone is connecting from not only here in the United States but all over the world as well. I was looking at the map of connections and I was seeing some connections from Europe, and we have some connections from Asia. So it's a great, it's going to be a great class, and I hope that everybody can find a lot of benefit from the information that I'm going to cover today. Thank you everyone for participating. Learning TradeStation is an educational program that is designed to help you better utilize the power of TradeStation. I know it is challenging to learn every single feature that TradeStation provides, and we take these classes as an opportunity for you to ask questions so that we can demonstrate functionality in a live environment. The program is divided in 12 individual and unique lessons, and as I said earlier, the purpose is to demonstrate as many features of TradeStation as we can in the time that we have reserved for this class, which is anywhere between 60 and 90 minutes, depending on how many questions we get and how in-depth we go in some of the functionality. Take a look at the schedule. Today is January 12th. We are doing lesson number 1. The title of lesson number 1 is Essentials of the TradeStation Desktop. So this is going to be more like a tour of TradeStation, give you some of the components that make up the desktop and how you can take advantage of some of its functionality that may be not so apparent to you. And we'll drill down in some of those features so that you can take advantage of them. At the bottom right of the player, let me highlight it for everyone. There, that little folder will give you access to the documents of this class. So if you haven't done so already, click on that little folder at the bottom right of the player, and you'll get an opportunity to click on the PDF for this class. The PDF is titled Lesson 1, Essentials of the TradeStation Desktop, and it has all the information. At least it will give you an outline of the information that we're going to cover today. If you're looking at the PDF, let me share with everyone here what the PDF looks like. This is page number 1 of the PDF. It has a table of contents at the very top. And in today's class, we're going to talk about installing TradeStation and what are the system requirements to install TradeStation. We'll make a contrast between live trading and simulated trading and how you can take advantage of both. We'll identify desktop components, how to work with Windows and workspaces, how to use desktops, because sometimes, the distinction between a workspace and a desktop may not be so easy to understand, and we'll take a few minutes to explain that. I'll show you backup and restore, how to customize your toolbars, how to create macros. Sometimes clients of TradeStation are not aware that they can create their own commands in TradeStation, and we'll take a few minutes of the class to show you how to create these macros and how to run these macros using hotkeys and toolbar buttons. It's very interesting functionality. We'll go over window linking and how you can make it easy to change windows without having to do it on an individual basis. I'll show you some of the TradeStation desktop preferences and how you can configure your TradeStation to behave the way you want. And then how to access TradeStation help. At any point in the use of TradeStation, you find yourself that you need a little bit more information. We have a great help system that allows you to look at information and get answers to the many questions that you're going to find as you use TradeStation. So we'll take a look at that as well. The box on the left-hand side that many of you have already used is your chat window. You'll have an opportunity to submit questions. You probably see that I'm here in the room by myself. We don't have a moderator for the chat, so I'll look at the chat once in a while to see what questions have been submitted, and I'll try to answer those questions the best that I can. So try to keep the questions topical so that everybody can benefit from the answers as well. We have 12 different lessons and 12 different topics. So if the topic that you have a question on is not covered today, you'll get an opportunity to ask that question on a future lesson. So check the schedule. If you haven't registered for the upcoming classes, I do encourage you to do so. Keep in mind that registration for the classes is individual. So the fact that you got a login link for lesson number 1 doesn't mean that you are going to get a login for lesson 2 unless you registered for lesson 2. So make sure that you registered for each of those classes individually. To register for the classes, you have to go to the live webcast calendar. Let me share that link with everyone here. There it is. Those are the TradeStation webcasts. So if you haven't registered for any of the upcoming classes, that's the link that you're going to be using to actually register. And if you haven't found the PDF, let me also share the PDF link with everyone here in the class. Those two links and additional links for information are available in the Documents folder at the bottom right corner of the player. For your convenience, this presentation is being recorded and is going to be uploaded in our on-demand webcast section. If this is the first time you join us and you are new to TradeStation, you may feel that the pace is a little fast. And we do have a lot of information to cover, and that's why sometimes it may seem that we're going a little bit too fast. But the ability for you to go to the archives and play the video and pause it and practice the functionality, it's very valuable. So make sure that you save the link for the archives so that you can review the content of this class at a later time. That link, let me just share it with everyone here in class, is right there in the chat window. Okay? Now, a couple things. If you have technical difficulties, because remember that this class is transmitted over the internet, and the internet is not 100% reliable, and there may be hiccups in the connection, which may seem like my sound is cutting in or cutting off, or maybe the image doesn't refresh as fast. It appears distorted. Sometimes just giving it a few seconds makes the screen, catch on again. But if it doesn't happen, you have a button on the top right corner. Let me see if I can highlight for all. There it is. That button up there will allow you to reload the page. When you click on it, you get a little window, and one of the options is reload the page, which will give you a refresh of the whole class. I believe it'll ask you to log in again, which is fine. Remember that once you're registered for the class, you can log in throughout the duration of the class without any problems. So if you have any technical issues, just close out of the room, log in again, and you should not have any issues. All right. Okay, we have the links available in the chat. I see some comments here not being able to see the calendar. The calendar is in the webcast, the link for TradeStation Events webcast. Yes, I still have the Essentials PDF on the screen. Let me switch over here to my TradeStation so that we can see my platform. Okay, let's get started. All right. The first topic in lesson number 1 is installation and system requirements. And I wanted to include a little bit of information about system requirements because it's going to at least give you a clear indication of what could be causing some issues on your TradeStation. Sometimes we see that TradeStation slows down. It may not be updating the data as fast as we wish it would. And sometimes it's because our computers may have run out of system resources. Of course, I'm not blaming it on the computer, but sometimes, or the majority of times, is because there may be issues with the computer just running out of system resources. Now on page 1 of the PDF, there is a table that allows you to see what are the system requirements for TradeStation to run. There are a set of minimum requirements that are needed for TradeStation to run, but that's running TradeStation at a bare minimum. That's like opening up TradeStation, maybe looking at a couple of charts, insert some technical analysis, and maybe have a watch list with maybe 10 or 20 symbols. But if you consider yourself to be a little bit more advanced or more of a standard user, in fact, if you go to page 2 of the PDF, we describe the different users. There's a minimum requirements user, then we have a standard user. That's the one that has, a couple dozen of different charts, multiple technical analysis. Maybe they're looking at a watch list of 100 symbols. That's a standard user. But then there's a power user that takes TradeStation to the limits. When you have strategy automation on dozens of charts, you have technical analysis going on in the background, you have radar screen with hundreds of symbols, calculating technical analysis. So we are taxing TradeStation a lot. And for that type of user, we do need a powerful computer. So looking at the table on page 1 gives you an indication of what is required depending on the type of user you are. So the question of what type of computer do you need to run TradeStation? Well, it all depends on the type of user you are. The more windows and the more calculations you foresee yourself doing in TradeStation, the more power your computer will require. So just keep that in mind. Sometimes when you see your TradeStation running slow, take a look at your system resources and how your computer is managing the speed of your processor, how much memory is available. A lot of factors play into how TradeStation responds when you're using it on a daily basis. Again, you're not here alone. If you have issues with your computer, we have a department of technical support representatives that are very glad to take your call, and they'll troubleshoot your system to see if there's anything interfering with TradeStation. All right? TradeStation is compatible and has been proven compatible with all different versions of Windows. Andres, I see your question about Windows 10. Since I'm not in the technical support department, I don't have a definite answer on that, but I'm pretty sure it does run on Windows 10. You may want to contact tech support and they'll give you a confirmation on that. All right? Okay. Page number 3 on the PDF, well, actually page number 3 and 4, the differences between live trading and simulated trading. Every TradeStation account comes with a trading simulator. That's a great benefit because it allows you to practice order entry functionality. If there's a window that is new to you, like a way of entering orders like the matrix, sometimes the matrix and the way that you click on it to place orders is something new. So it does require you to practice the order entry functionality. So rather than doing it on your live account where you could risk losing some of your capital, do it on the trading simulator. So practicing new features and order entry functionality on the trading simulator is a great benefit. Also, if you want to practice other assets, let's say that you are an equities expert or you're an options trader, but you want to practice, some futures trades, or you want to practice some currency trades, you can do that on the trading simulator. Also, if you have a trading idea that you want to test, maybe a strategy that you've developed, rather than risk your own capital, we have access to the trading simulator. So I'm pretty sure that everyone, as of now, has noticed that when you log on to TradeStation, there's 2 buttons on the top right corner of the login window, one for live trading and the other for simulated trading. The only way that you're going to connect to a simulated environment is by literally clicking on that simulated trading button. We always get into the habit of pressing enter when we enter a password on any application, and hitting the enter key will just default to your live account. On your TradeStation platform, and I'm looking at my TradeStation platform, and you look at the bottom, there's a line of information. It's called the status line. It gives you information about your account, but there's two indications that give you the status of your connection to the server. There are two servers. You have the trading server and then you have the data server. You see how my computer says trading sim, meaning that I'm connected to a simulated environment. So if at any point you want to confirm that you're connected to a simulated environment, just look at the bottom of your TradeStation, and if trading sim is in blue, that is a simulator. Also, you see the letters SIM, which stand for simulator. If you were connected to a live account, that indicator would be green, representing a live connection. Data is green, which means that I'm connected to a live data server. Data only has two colors. It's either green or red. If you see green, you're connected to the data server and you should be receiving real-time data um, if you're subscribed to those data exchanges or those data packages. But if you see data red, it means that you've disconnected from the server and you're not receiving those real-time updates or your data updates. So always take a glance at the status line to make sure that your connection is fine. If you double-click on any of those indicators, and I'll demonstrate right now, I'm going to double-click on Trading Sim. You notice how the two indicators turn red. That means that I've just disconnected my TradeStation from the server. It's still running on my computer. I can still use it, but it's not receiving any data, and you cannot place any trades because you are disconnected. You know, sometimes if you are traveling and you want to use your TradeStation on an airplane and you don't have access to internet, it's a nice feature because you can still open up TradeStation and do some analysis. A lot of the data that you see on TradeStation is automatically saved in your computer's hard drive. So you'll be able to have access to your charts and some of the data that you access when you are online. So to log in again, I just need to double click on one of these indicators one more time. I get the TradeStation network logon. I type in my username and password. And again, I see my two buttons here on the right, live trading and simulated trading. I'm going to click on simulated trading so that we can keep ourselves in the simulated environment, especially in this series of classes where I demonstrate a lot of the functionality, and I don't want to be using real money with that, right? So keep that in mind. There's other places in TradeStation where you can confirm that you are on a simulator, especially here on the order bar. You can see the account number starts with the letters SIM, confirming that I'm on a simulator. So if at any point during your use of TradeStation you want to do a quick disconnect and reconnect, maybe because you want to refresh the connection, remember that at the bottom, if you click on any of these two indicators, Trading Sim or Data, it'll take your connection offline, and then you can connect again to refresh that connection. All right. Okay, I see some comments about screen being blank, no sound. Just wanted to confirm that you guys can hear me. I guess we would have heard from many other people, but I think Bob is having issues with his screen or no sound. So, okay, Phil, thank you for confirming. Thank you, Stephanie. All right. All right. So hopefully his computer will start working fine. Okay, on page 5, we talk about the desktop components. You know, you log into TradeStation, you see a lot of buttons everywhere. You see the toolbar at the very top. The toolbar is very similar to any other Windows application, and the toolbar gives you quick access to some of the functionality in TradeStation. We are going to use some of the tools on top. We're not going to go over every single button, but I'll give you the ones that are mostly, or the ones that are most frequently used. Below the toolbar, you have what's called the TradeStation order bar. We call that the manual order entry facility because a lot of the settings before you even send an order have to be done manually. So you have to enter the symbol, the quantity, the limit price. There's a lot of boxes that you have to go through before you can click on buy or sell. That's why we call it the manual order entry facility. There's other ways that you can enter orders in TradeStation that we're going to cover tomorrow in lesson number 2. And the day after tomorrow in lesson number 3, we talk about order entry and all the different places where you can place an order. But that's the order bar. You can see that on the left-hand side is divided in 4 different tabs. Those are the different asset classes that TradeStation supports: equities, options, futures, and forex. So depending on the account that you have funded with TradeStation, these tabs will be available for you to trade. One of the nice things about the simulator, though, it doesn't matter what live account you own with TradeStation because they're all connected. So even though you are an exclusive options trader, if you go to the simulated environment, you have a simulated equities account, a simulated futures account, and also a simulated forex account that you can use and practice trading. All right. Guys, thank you very much for helping out Bob. Below the order bar, we have what we call the position graph bar. That is this area right here where my cursor is. That's where your positions are going to be displayed. If you look at my TradeStation, it is blank because I don't have any open positions. Right? As you are trading and you open and establish positions in your account, you'll see them listed right here with a little graph. We're not going to go into that in detail today, but I just wanted to identify it with its name, the position graph bar, so that you know what it is and what it's there for. A lot of these panels that you see on top can be removed. If you notice on the left-hand side, there's a little X that allows you to get rid of these tabs. You know, if you want to maximize the area that is available on the desktop, and you don't want that big bar on top occupying a lot of your space, you can just remove it. They can be easily brought back by just going to the View menu and then clicking on the different pieces. If you click on Order Bar, the Order Bar comes up. If I click on Position Graph Bar, the Position Graph Bar comes up. And at the bottom, of course, we already identified the status bar gives you account information, your balance, your purchasing power, what is your P&L in real time, and also your closed P&L. We have some other indicators that we're going to take a look at later. And then you have this little bell. If you notice, there's a little bell on TradeStation that allows you to set up alerts. If you double click on that little bell, it takes you to the status bar alert settings, and you can set up alerts for the opening bell, the closing bell. I know that a lot of users, when they first start using TradeStation, the bell, the opening bell and the closing bell, it's very startling. It's very loud if your speakers are on with high volume, and it scares a lot of people. But this is the place where you can control the time that the opening bells and the closing bells fire off, or if you want to disable that little bell, you can do that here as well. Again, that's by double-clicking on the yellow bell right here at the bottom of TradeStation. And one other piece of TradeStation that I wanted to point to is this tab called Trading Apps. By default, this Trading Apps is right here on the left-hand side. There's a little tab. And if you click on it, it rolls over and it gives you access to a whole set of buttons and different windows that you can use in TradeStation, which we're going to use throughout the series. Now, what I do with this Trading Apps, which my personal preference is to have it on top, but you can have it, or you can put it anywhere you want. This is the little tab that you can just drag and put it anywhere. So if you want it on top, you can just leave it there. If you want it here on the right-hand side, you can put it there as well. Or if you want to drag it here to the left, it's fine. Just drag it to any location. You can even here put it on at the bottom. All right? So whatever is most convenient for you. That's the Trading Apps, and it gives you access to different windows that we're going to learn about in TradeStation. On page 6 of the PDF, let's talk a little bit about workspaces and windows. Windows, which is just a simple display of data, are mostly available in the Trading Apps dropdown. So a lot of these buttons that you see here will open up a specific window displaying the data in a specific manner. An example, and one that is used a lot, is a chart analysis. So when you click on chart analysis, this will open up a window, which is a chart, inside a workspace. As soon as I clicked on chart analysis, I'm not sure if you noticed, but there's a new tab at the bottom called Untitled Workspace. It's untitled because I haven't saved it. But this workspace that says Untitled Workspace can hold multiple windows. So let's say that I wanted to do two charts. I'm going to come here to the trading apps, and I'm going to click on chart analysis a second time, and I have two windows in my workspace. Now they're exactly the same symbol and exactly the same time interval. We'll show you how to format charts, I believe on lesson number 4, which is the chart analysis lesson. But here, let me show you some functionality to arrange windows. In the window menu, notice that you have access to arranging windows automatically. I like the arrange all. Arrange all will find a specific space for all the windows that are opened. So it's a quick way to arranging everything. Use it carefully because sometimes if you've taken the time to resize windows individually, which you can do, I mean, I can take the corner of this window and make it the size that I want, and any window in TradeStation, you can resize it that way. And if you want to drag or move the window, just click it from the title bar and move it anywhere you want. So if you spent some time, resizing and organizing windows, but then you come here to the window menu and you click on Arrange All, see, all those little changes that I made are lost. Unless you save them, and you can always revert back to the saved workspace. But once I have my windows the way that I want, I can save the workspace. Now, saving the workspace is simple. There's different ways that you can save a workspace. Uh, a lot of people are used to going through the File menu and clicking on Save Workspace. You have a hotkey combination, which is Control-S, takes you to the Save Workspace dialog as well. Or you can just right-click on the tab and you get a right-click menu. I'm sorry that it's off the player, but inside that menu there's a Save Workspace option as well. So let me go to File, Save Workspace here. Save my workspace as two charts, and then click OK and save. So now I've saved my tab as two charts, and you can see there at the bottom. Okay, so here on TradeStation, you can have multiple workspaces. It allows you to organize your work in different folders. So I always tend to use that analogy as a workspace is some sort of container, a folder, where you can find different windows. So if you need another workspace, we're going to use the toolbar button that's here in the toolbar. The very first toolbar button is New Workspace. TradeStation offers these tooltips where if you hover your cursor on top of the button, it gives you the function of that button. So here we have New Workspace. If we go to the next one, it says Open Workspace, Save All Workspace, and so forth. So these are different buttons, and hovering over them tells you what function it is. Let's click on the very first toolbar button. It gives you a brand new workspace. Notice here at the bottom, I have my untitled workspace number 3. I still see two charts open, but it's in the background. That's one of the things you have to keep in mind in TradeStation is that any workspace that is open, it's using up your system resources. It's streaming real-time data. So even though I do not see the two charts on my screen, they're still, updating in the background. They're still tick by tick calculating any technical analysis that I have on them, which is a benefit if you've set up alerts on indicators, or if you're running an automated strategy, those charts that are running in the background are still working for you. So you don't necessarily have to have everything on the screen. As long as it's open, it should be updating and making all the calculations. So let's say here that I want to go to my trading apps and I want to click on my market depth window. So here I have my market depth window. All right. We'll talk about the market depth in one of the classes. I'm not really sure what lesson number it is, but we'll explain what this window represents. And I can combine this with the time and sales. All right, so I can move this here and put it right here. Resize it so that I can use out my workspace area. And then again, I can go to File, Save Workspace, and then save this as MD and time and sales. Okay, so we know how to create workspaces, we know how to create windows, and how to save them into those workspaces. If you wanted to send somebody a workspace that you created, very simple to do, just go to File. There's an option here that says Send Workspace. Now the Send Workspace feature that is available in TradeStation only works with Outlook. I believe it doesn't work with any of the web email. But if you're using web email like Gmail or Yahoo or any of those providers, you just have to open up an email and then send it as an attachment. TradeStation workspaces are saved in your hard drive, and you can find them in the TradeStation folder wherever you install TradeStation. By default, it's C drive, program files, and then you find the TradeStation folder in there. And inside of TradeStation, you're going to find the My Work folder where the workspaces are saved. Okay, I will show you some other features that are available to send work or share your work with other people using the backup and restore. But at this time, just wanted to make sure that everybody understands the difference between a window and a workspace. On page 8, we talk about multiple desktops and multiple monitors. It's a concept that is common on computers nowadays. Computers come with multiple monitors. These are different screens connected to the same computer. If you're working on a laptop, you're mostly used to just one single screen. But if you're on a desktop, or if you've connected an external monitor to your laptop, then you have this computer that is controlling 2, 3, 4 different screens. So TradeStation created this concept of desktops so that you can create multiple instances of TradeStation on those different monitors. When I come here to the File menu and I go to the New option, you have the option to creating a new window, a new workspace, but then you also have the option to creating a new desktop. When I do that, let me show you. This creates another TradeStation instance on a second monitor that I have on this computer. You don't see it right there on the screen because I actually have two screens here on this computer, and it used the one that I'm not projecting, but let me just resize it and make it smaller and bring it here on top of my current TradeStation so you can see it. There it is. You see how I have a separate TradeStation running? This is the same computer, but now I can take this desktop and I can move it to a different monitor, and that way it provides me an additional layer of organization where I can have desktops and separate my work in that manner. Maybe if you're trading stocks and you're trading options, you may want to have your options separate than your stocks. Or if you're looking at futures, you want to have a desktop for futures. You can organize your work in any way that is most comfortable to you. And David, to answer your question about sending a workspace from a desktop to a laptop, yes, exactly correct. Let's say that you started off installing TradeStation on your desktop computer, and you're working on your desktop on TradeStation and creating your workspaces. Those workspaces take time to create. So if you install TradeStation on your personal laptop, because you're going to be traveling and you're going to take your laptop, you can transfer the workspaces that you created on your desktop over to your laptop and not have to recreate everything, which is convenient. And all the workspaces are saved locally. We haven't created a cloud solution yet, so all the workspaces are going to be saved on the hard drive, but it doesn't stop you from saving those files and transferring them to another computer. And you can use any method. I mean, you don't have to use email. You can use an USB flash drive, or if you have a shared hard drive, you can do it in any way possible and use the same workspaces on one computer and another. And yeah, Bob is still having difficulties. I'm sorry for Bob. I'm not sure if he can hear me, but he's better off just calling technical support to get support on his screen. I'm not sure what issues he's having. And thank you for the suggestion of going to the archives. Yes, that's a great way of saying it. You don't get the live experience, but you can play the video and see what other people have asked, which is also beneficial. Okay, so here if I click on the little red X on the top right corner of my desktop, it's going to ask me because it's going to think that you want to exit out of TradeStation. So it's going to give you different options here. Do you want to close this desktop or do you want to close all desktops? I just want to close this desktop, not everything. Okay, and that goes away. So remember that desktops is a great way of taking advantage of a multiple monitor computer. Page 9 talks about backup and restore. We know how frustrating it is to have spent a lot of time on something, whatever it is, and lose it because we didn't back it up. Lose it because our hardware crashed, because our computer hard drive died, for any reason. So if you've used computers for a long time already, you know that for a fact. Things happen. You lose data. You lose computers. They get damaged. So if you value your work and if you value the time that you've spent, creating your workspaces and everything in TradeStation, make sure that you back it up. TradeStation offers a utility that helps you back up your work. File, and it's called Backup Restore TradeStation. Let's go here to Backup TradeStation. At first glance, it looks confusing, but there's a lot of things that you can customize in TradeStation. So what we did here is that we checked every single customizable item in TradeStation. That's why it looks so cumbersome, and there's a lot of things listed here. When in doubt, just leave everything checked. If you haven't created any custom work under that category, the backup won't do anything for that specific category. But here, if I scroll down to the bottom, here, the very last options is the workspaces. So if you're just concerned about your workspaces, then you can just uncheck everything and leave workspaces checked. We also give you the ability here to specify additional folders, and this is something important because I do know that many users of TradeStation, when they go and save their work, they're going to choose a different location. For the most part, they don't use what comes default on TradeStation. See, the default TradeStation is the My Work folder. But a lot of users like to save, workspaces to the desktop or to My Documents folder. If you do that, just keep in mind that you have to tell the backup what directory to look into. So if I click on the little ellipsis here, it allows me to select other areas that I want to look at. So if I want to look at my desktop, because that's where I save my workspaces, I have to select it, click OK, and notice that not only it's looking at Program Files, TradeStation, My Work, but it's also looking at my desktop. So if you change the location where the files are saved or the default location, just make sure that you tell the backup utility where those utilities are. Everything that is checked here will be saved in one single file, which is also convenient. The destination is going to be Program Files, TradeStation Archive. It's a different folder than the TradeStation, program folder, which is also very convenient because at any point, if you decide to uninstall TradeStation, the TradeStation Archives folder remains. But that's where the file is going to be saved. So everything you check here on the left-hand side is going to be compiled into one single file that contains all your backup, and it's going to be sent over here. Of course, that does not protect you from a hard drive crash. If your hard drive goes wrong, the TradeStation Archives folder goes wrong with it. So if you really want to save your work, just go into that directory, grab the backup file and move it out. Put it on a USB flash drive, on an external hard drive. Email it to yourself so you have an electronic copy. So that is the best way to save a copy of your work. Also, you can use this backup and restore functionality to transfer work from one computer to the other. Let's say you have a trading partner and you want to share your environment with him. You can back it up, send him this file, and he can restore the file into his TradeStation. Just use it carefully because the backup, when you restore a backup file, you are overwriting everything that the other user has, which is, a limitation of the backup restore. It doesn't add, but it overwrites. So, so make sure that you are aware of that when you restore a backup file. So let's say that you are on the receiving end. You receive a backup file. What do you do with it? Well, we're going to cancel out of this, and you go to the File menu. Again, backup restored TradeStation, but this time go to Restored TradeStation Archive. You browse for the location of that file wherever it is, if it's on an external drive or a USB flash drive that you've plugged into your computer, or maybe you emailed it to yourself and now you saved it to that. Wherever that file is, locate it here, and then you can open it and start the restore process, where it's going to take everything inside that backup and put it in your TradeStation. You make a good question, Phil, about data cache. When I was here in File, Backup, Restore TradeStation, Backup TradeStation, there's an option here that says data cache. Now, data cache is data that TradeStation saves on your hard drive to make charts load faster. What does that mean? Well, the first time you load up a chart, let's say that you're looking at data for Apple. So you load up a chart of Apple. All that data that you're looking at on the chart, it's automatically saved on your hard drive. Now, nowadays, computer or internet speeds are through the roof. They are pretty fast. So it's not a big concern to save data cache if you have a fast internet connection. Because when you load up TradeStation on another computer, it'll load the data again and save it to that computer. Now let me explain when data cache becomes an issue. You know that TradeStation has a limit to the amount of tick data that it has. Does anybody know how much tick data TradeStation has? We have 6 months. Okay, so if we're looking at tick charts. We're not talking about minute data. We're not talking about, daily data. We have years and years of that. But when it comes to tick data, we only have 6 months of historical data. So if you wanted to see a tick chart of Apple, the furthest back you can go is 6 months. Now, if you continuously look at a tick chart of Apple on a daily basis, TradeStation will start accumulating data in your hard drive. So instead of having 6 months and you've looked at the chart for another month, you have 7 months. And then you looked at the chart for another month and you have 8 months. So this data will start accumulating in your hard drive, and then that's when, if you want to save that historical data, then data cache needs to be checked. Only when you exceed the amount of data that TradeStation has on the server. Otherwise, now it shouldn't be checked. I mean, data cache sometimes can get pretty hefty when it comes to size. So sometimes you just have to uncheck it and make sure that it's not part of your backup, because it'll just create a larger file, difficult to manage. Okay, perfect. Give it a try. All these features is just a matter of testing them, giving them a try, and see how it works on your computer. And I'm pretty sure you'll enjoy using them. Richard, I see your question about desktops. If you go here to the backup restore, I believe desktops is one of the options here. So desktops is also included. So if you want to transfer everything, it's just a matter of saying select all or clear all, or just do individual selection here to start the backup. Let's go to page 10 of the PDF, customizing toolbars. TradeStation has a set of toolbar buttons on top that we pre-selected for you. We did some studies. We found what TradeStation users were using mostly, and we made a lot of those buttons available as shortcuts in the TradeStation toolbar. All right. So some of these buttons you may not even use at all. Some of these buttons you may not even know what they do. So sometimes To unclutter things in TradeStation, you may want to remove some of those buttons and add the ones that you really use. And all the toolbars in TradeStation are fully customizable. You can add buttons, you can remove buttons. You can customize the toolbars that are currently there. You can create your own toolbar, and I'll show you how to do that here in this class. Richard, I see your question about how far back does TradeStation go with minute bars. It goes back years, depending on the symbol you're looking at. So if you're looking, for example, at minute data for the Dow Jones, for example, that's one of the instruments that we have most historical data for. So if you load up a data of the Dow Jones, it can go back to the 1920s. So we have over 90 years of historical data on a minute interval for some instruments like the Dow Jones. If you're looking at a stock like Microsoft or General Electric, we have 30, 40, 50 years of intraday data. So it's very, very interesting that you can load up that much data for all these instruments. And we have a very extensive historical database that you can load. So it depends on the symbol you're looking at. If you want to know how much data we have for a specific symbol, just load up 40, 50 years and see how much data you get. If you don't get the full 50 years, that means that we probably don't have that much data for that symbol. Clarence, I see your question about data cache being deleted once a week. Now, you shouldn't have to delete the data or the cache data every week. I've heard of issues in charting when data cache gets corrupted. Sometimes if you have security software or if you have something that is protecting your computer from the outside, this could affect the way that TradeStation saves files into your hard drive. And sometimes cache files get corrupted and you have issues loading data on the graphs and so forth. But it's isolated cases. You shouldn't have to delete cache data unless you find that you're getting issues with loading data on your TradeStation. Those are the only times where it'll take you to the cache folder and delete it because TradeStation will reload it when it connects again to the server. So yeah, but it's cache data. It's beneficial because it loads your charts so much faster. Yeah, Kirkton, for a lot of the products that are newer, you'll have data since the inception of the product. So for example, if you're looking at Facebook or Twitter, products that are rather new, you'll see data from the very beginning. Some other products may not go back that far. So General Electric, which has been trading for over 100 years, I don't believe we have data since the inception of General Electric, but we do have a lot of data. Nayan, I'm not really sure what your question refers to when you ask about the ASHX file. I'm not really sure where you're seeing that. If you provide me more details, I can probably answer. John, it's a great question. John is asking a question, when you save a desktop, does that mean you've saved the workspace on it? It's an interesting question because there could be some confusion. The only information that is saved when you save a desktop is just the workspaces that are contained in that desktop by name. That's the only thing that it saves. So the workspaces have to be saved separately. So any changes you make to the workspaces have to be changed separately. When you save a desktop only remembers all the workspaces that are within it or contained in it by name, and it will just point out to those workspaces to open them if you open a specific desktop. So make sure that if you make any changes to workspaces, you save the workspaces as well. And I'm not sure if you noticed, but every time you exit out of TradeStation, TradeStation will prompt you to save not only the workspaces, but also the desktops. By the way, let me share with everyone before I forget my email address. That's my email address right there. If I don't get to your question or if I don't answer your question from the chat because of time constraints, feel free to email me and I'll make sure to provide an answer for you. Nayan, let's take that ASHX file, offline. I'll try to figure out exactly what you're referring to. I'm just having a hard time following your question. All right, Barbara, I see your question about uh, the box move. When you click on the chart, you see if you click on the background of the chart, you get a data tips window that moves on it. If you really want to move the window, click on the tile bar. Okay, that's the way to move the window. If you click in the middle, it doesn't move, but it gives you a data tips window. We'll talk about that in the charting class, lesson number 4. To move the window, you have to click on the actual title bar. Okay, so we were talking about toolbar buttons. Every time you create a window in TradeStation, let's say that I have a chart analysis window active. And when I say active, is because it's the one that I've clicked on. And you can see the difference in color on the title bar. You can see how this is a little bit darker than the one on the right. But if I click on the one on the right, that one becomes active. You notice that every time that I click on a different window, the buttons on my toolbar change because TradeStation knows what window you're looking at, not the one you're looking at, but the one that is active. It knows what window is active, and it'll offer you a selection of buttons that pertain or that relate to that specific window. So since I have a chart analysis window active, all the buttons that I see here on top relate to chart analysis. If I go over here to my market depth and I click on my market depth, now the buttons that I see here on top are related to market depth. If I click on time and sales, the buttons change as well. So there's a specific toolbar for each type of window in TradeStation. So if for any reason you look at the very top and you're looking for something and you see that it's not there anymore, it's probably because you've clicked on a different type of window and it changed the buttons that are in the toolbar, because toolbar are sensitive to the type of window that is active. So just keep that in mind. So let me go back here to my charts. I see a lot of my charting toolbars. Let me give you an example of something that I may not use a lot. Let's say that I'm looking at this little button that says Manage Analysis Groups. And you say to yourself, I don't ever use analysis groups. I want to get rid of that because all the other buttons I like, but not that one. How do I remove it from my toolbar? In order to remove buttons from the toolbar, go to the View menu, go to Toolbars right here at the bottom, and on the right menu, I know that is off the screen, but the very last option here says Customize. You don't see it on the player, but if you follow the toolbar menu, you'll find Customize right here at the bottom. Once you have the Customize dialog open, you can take that little button on top, just click it and hold your mouse button and drag it inside the Customize window. Actually, not only you have to be on Customize, but you also have to be in the Commands section, because this is the place where you drop the little buttons. So make sure that Commands is active. Then you click on that button on top, hold your mouse button, drag it, and then just drop it in here. You see how the button disappeared? If I see this other button says Save Analysis Group, let's say that I wanted to remove it as well. I click it, drag it, and just drop it in here with the rest of the buttons. And the button goes away. If you find something here in the commands that you think that it's pretty cool to have up there, like for example, New Chart Analysis Window, that's very straightforward. This button allows you to create a new chart. I don't see it anywhere here on my toolbar. In fact, every time that I have to create a new chart, I have to go to my trading apps, then I have to locate the new chart analysis window. So it's a little bit more cumbersome to create a new chart. If you do that continuously, maybe having a separate button that does that would help a lot. I can click on that button, drag it, and put it right here on top of my chart. You can put it right here at the beginning of the chart analysis toolbar, or you can put it right here next to new workspace. You can have a new chart, and then click on close. So now every time I click on that new chart toolbar button, I get a new chart very quickly. So if you do this on a frequently basis, having this button on top Allows you to save you a few clicks. Every time I click on that button, I get a new chart. If you want to rearrange all the windows, go to Window, Arrange All, and then TradeStation organizes all my opened windows in one view. Atul, thank you very much for pointing that out about the files. Yes, those are the PDFs that are available with every single lesson that we do. We have a companion PDF with the information that is covered in class. Okay, let's talk a little bit about command line macros with hotkeys and toolbar buttons. So that's on page 11 of the PDF. Great functionality. TradeStation has been built with this functionality that allows you to customize your TradeStation to do things that are not there by default. And I'll show you a couple examples, okay? Let me close out some of these charts by just clicking on the X's here. And let me make this larger right here. This is a futures. We're looking at the continuous symbol of the S&P E-mini 500 at ES. It's set to 5 minute. Let's say that in your use of TradeStation, you find yourself changing the interval of the chart many times. In TradeStation, there's a shortcut toolbar button that allows you to do that. It's called interval right here. So if I click on interval, I can see different options that I can click on. Of course, it requires me to click on the button and then scroll down to find the one that I want. Let's say, for example, that you are the type of user that wants to create some buttons to change it to, actually no, we have those buttons already. They are created already, now that I remember. Daily, weekly, and monthly. If I go here to my, let's see, let me show you where that is. If I come here to the Customize Toolbar dialog, so go to View, Toolbars, and Customize, and you go here to Format. Here we go. We have daily, weekly, and monthly interval buttons already created for you. So if you use these a lot, you can just click them and then put them right here next to my session button so that I can keep them somewhat similar buttons together. So now I've added 3 additional buttons, daily, weekly, and monthly. So when I click on these buttons, it changes my chart to those intervals without me having to go to interval and selecting the option from here. All right? But let me show you a quick way to create macros as well to do that. In TradeStation, there's a macro functionality that allows you to create commands in TradeStation. One of those commands is displaying the order bar, hiding the order bar, and displaying the order bar. If you want to see a full list of commands that are available, here to the right of the command line, and where I'm pointing to right here on my TradeStation, this white box on the top of my TradeStation where it says type a symbol command, this is the command line. And if you look at, there's 2 buttons. One that gives you a history of everything that you've typed in. And then there's another button here to the right that allows you to, gives you the last 10 symbols that you've used, the last 10 data intervals that you've used, and also the option to click on other commands. And other commands will give you the full list of commands that are available that you can just type in TradeStation. Let's take a look at it. I'm just going to do one simple one so you can see how it works. These are organized or sorted by application. So if I scroll down, I'm just going to go here to a section that's my desktop commands. Now this may seem a little confusing the very first time you see it, but I'm just going to try to keep it as simple as I can. I just wanted to show you the functionality because it's available, and it's sometimes very convenient to just spend the time to create these macros because it's going to make your TradeStation use so much easier. Here in the View menu, I have order bar. I have a long command, which is .order bar, and I have a short command, which is .ob. And this command displays the order bar. Let's give this command a try. I'm going to come back here to my TradeStation, and the way to run the command is just to type it in. So if I type in dot order bar, and when I type it in, notice how the command goes up here, dot order bar, and I hit enter. You see how the order bar went away? Let's try that one more time. Dot order bar. Enter. The order bar comes back on. You can see a whole list of commands that you can just type in. In fact, I don't have to type order bar. I can just dot .ob, enter, .ob, enter. That command can be turned into a macro that I can just then assign to a toolbar button. Let me show you how that works. I'm going to come here to the macros dialog. The way that you access the macros is by clicking on that toolbar button that has the building blocks. You click on it, and there's two types of macros that you can create. In this class, which is lesson number 1, we're going to talk about command line macros. There are some macros that are already created for you. We're not going to take a look at them, although I do suggest that when you have a few minutes, take a look at the ones that are already created for you, and you can use them. And you have order entry macros, which we're not going to do in this class. We're going to leave the order entry macros for lesson number 3, because you can also have a macro to execute orders, which is also very convenient. Here on the right-hand side, I have the button to create a macro. Gives you the two options, command line macro or order entry macro. We want a command line macro. Next, so here it says type the command line command. So we know the command is .order bar. Okay, that's all we need. And if you look at the bottom, it gives you 2 notes. Commands must be preceded with a period. Use a double semicolon to separate multiple commands. So you can have a macro that has multiple commands in sequence, and they would be separated by double semicolons. But we're not going to do that in this class. We're going to keep it simple. We know that the command is .order bar. Click Next. And we give the macro a name. Display order bar. The name cannot have any spaces. I'm just going to do it display order bar. Click Next. It says display confirmation window. Would you like to run the display order bar macro? Now that's optional. I don't want to have a confirmation window because I just want the command to be run every time that I click on it. If you leave the confirmation on, every time you click on that button, you'll get a confirmation window, and that's not exactly what you want. You want something to be quick and fast. You can leave the beep on, or you can just disable that as well, and then click on Finish. So now take a look here at the list of macros, because display order bar has now become part of my list of macros. Now there's 2 ways that you can run this. You can run this with a hotkey or a toolbar button. So it's optional. If you think of yourself as somebody that uses the keyboard a lot, maybe a hotkey would make sense, you know. So doing something like Control-Alt-D for displaying the order bar, or O for the order bar. You know, Control-Alt-O removes the order bar. Or if you are more of a toolbar button guy, or gal, where you look at the order bar, the toolbar, and you click on a button, you can do that as well. So let's do both. I'm just going to have my macro highlighted, and first of all, I'm going to go to toolbars. See, when I clicked on toolbar, it took me right into the customize button, because that's how you customize toolbars. But I see my display order macro listed here. You see how it says right there? I can change the button by just clicking modify button. I can choose one of the buttons that are available here. Let's say that I wanted to use, let's use, I don't know, doesn't matter which one you use. I like the smiley face. Smiley face, click OK. Notice how the button changes, and I'm just going to bring it up here. Click and drag. Remember that we did that earlier with one of the buttons that we didn't want. And then we just click on Close. Now this is a very simple macro that we created using one of the commands, and we just assigned it to a toolbar button right over here. Every time that I click on that smiley face, you see how the order bar disappears? Smiley face, smiley face, smiley face, smiley face. Every time you click on it, it runs a macro without any confirmation. Now, take a look at all the list of macros, because maybe something that takes you a long time to do can be created into a macro and saving you a lot of time. Okay, so that's the functionality on command line macros and how to create and assign a toolbar button. If you wanted to use the same macro but with a hotkey, let me show you how that's done. We click here on the building blocks one more time. Display order bar is one of the macros highlighted, and I click on hotkeys. Instead of toolbars, now I just click on hotkeys. Again, the one that I'm looking at is highlighted, and I just have to click inside this box where it says press new hotkey. I just click inside there, and I press the hotkey that I want. Control Alt O. It gives me the combination of keys, Control Alt O. I didn't have to type that in. I just pressed the hotkey combination that I wanted, and that automatically appeared inside the box. Once you have the new hotkey, just click on Assign right here in the corner. So now that's the current keys, Control Alt O. I close this, and I close this. So guess what's going to happen when I do Control Alt O? I'm going to have the order bar appear right here on top. You're not going to see me pressing the hotkey, but trust me that I'm doing it. Control Alt O, and notice how the order bar comes on. Control Alt O, the order bar goes away. We have a 45-minute video talking about command line macros and order entry macros. If you're interested in this functionality, that will provide you with more details about that. Okay, so feel free to take a look at that. All right, let's go back to my TradeStation, and we're going to talk a little bit about window linking, which is page 14. Linking is a very interesting functionality. Let me resize this window, create another chart, go to Window, and Arrange All. So we have two charts. We have a monthly chart of the E-mini, and we have a 5-minute chart of the E-mini. Linking allows you to connect these two windows together so that if you make a change on one, it transfers that change to the other. Let's go ahead and link these two windows using a symbol. If you look on the title bar, there's two buttons, an S and an I. S is my symbol window link, and the I is my interval window link. If I click on the S, it turns the button green, which is turning on linking under a green group. Anything or any window that has the same color link are going to be associated. They're going to be linked. They're going to be connected. So if anything happens to one of the windows inside the green group, it transfers that change to all the other windows inside that same group. So if I come over here to the right and I click on the same S on the title bar, I've made the two windows symbol linked under the green group. So what happens if I change the symbol here on this chart? Let's go ahead and see. I'm just going to type it in. I'm typing it Microsoft. You can see how Microsoft shows up here on top. Hit enter. So now I see Microsoft here on the right, and I see Microsoft right here on the left. So connecting the windows by symbol automatically transfers the change to one to the other. And the same with interval. Here on the chart on the right, let me just disable some of this information. We'll talk about that on a future lesson. Here on the right, I have a monthly chart. So if I come here and I change this to daily, notice that it only changed the chart on the right. But if I come here and I turn on the interval link, and I make it the same color on both charts, let me disable this. Every time that I change the data interval, let's say that I change this to a 5-minute chart, not only changes the one on the right, but it also changes the one on the left. This is very convenient when you have a lot of windows open and you're changing symbols and you're changing data interval. So it makes it very convenient for you to create these links if you wanted to transfer that change across all the windows. Now, Phil, I did see your question about saving the layout at the bottom of hotkeys. I'm sorry that I skipped it and I went over to a different topic. But for those that are interested in the hotkey configuration, if I go to macros and I click on hotkeys, there's a save layout option here at the bottom. If you used your hotkeys a lot and you've created a whole set of hotkeys, you can save that configuration under a specific name, and TradeStation will save it as this is your custom hotkey layout, and it'll save every single layout into one single file. And that way you can transfer that file to different computers. You can save it as in your backup file. You can also save it there. So it just creates a file with your own set of hotkeys if you want to save it under your own layout. That's what that layout does. If you wanted to create a different color link, just click on the little drop down on the right of the button and you get access to different buttons or different colors. Okay, so you can have a green group, you can have a yellow group, and all these will change separately. All right. One of the things that I didn't talk about was the ability for you to create a global link. If you take a look at the menu here, you have some local links on top, and then you have global links at the bottom. Local only work within that workspace where they're created, inside the workspace. That's the one we demonstrated right now. Let's set these to global, and I'll show you the difference, because global will work across workspaces and across desktops. So let me click on global here for symbol, and I'll change the other one also to global. Let me go over here to my market depth and do a global link here as well. I'm going to click on the symbol dropdown and create a global link. So here I'm looking at Microsoft. Let me look at a symbol that I haven't looked at yet. AAPL, Apple. I hit enter. That changes the symbol in my market depth. But since this window is globally linked to my other two charts, I'm pretty sure that two charts will be changed to Apple. Let's confirm. I go to my first workspace, and yes, I see Apple here, and I see Apple here on the right. So it goes back and forth. If I'm looking at a chart here, and let's say that I want to look at Facebook now, FB, hit enter. So I see Facebook on the two charts here on my screen. And when I go to my other workspace, see my market depth is already set to Facebook. So sometimes if you have, an order entry window with a matrix and you want that matrix to always have the symbol that you are looking at, it's a quick way for you to change windows across workspaces. Let me open up a new workspace here, or create a new workspace, and I'm going to do that example for you. Let's say that I click here the matrix, which is our one-click order execution window. But this window, it's set to Facebook. You can see the symbol here on the top left. But I'm going to click on the drop-down for symbol. I'm going to set this to a global listener. Now this is very interesting because if you turn a window into a global listener, it'll listen to any change regardless of the color, and it'll take that change for itself. Let me show you how that works. I've turned this window into a global listener. Let me go here to my two charts. I'm going to change this chart to Disney. So now I'm looking at a chart of Disney. If I go to my market depth, I see Disney here in my market depth. But now if I go to my matrix, Disney is in my matrix. But let me show you something else. Let's go to a new workspace, create a new chart. I have a chart of Disney here on this new workspace. Let's say that I'm looking at a different symbol. So let's go ahead and change this to Intel. This is Intel Corporation, INTC. This is a window that is not linked with any other window. We haven't turned those buttons on. But if I switch back to my matrix, look at my matrix. The matrix is already changed to Intel. So changing or assigning a window to be a global listener will listen to any change, regardless of the color of the link that the window has, or even if the window is not linked at all. Every time you make a change, the listener will always listen. And I have my matrix ready and with the symbol that I'm looking at all times. All right. Phil, I see your question about the resetting TradeStation. If you change things around in TradeStation, because it's happened to me many times that I've changed so many things in my TradeStation, like adding buttons and creating windows and changing hotkeys. If that's the case, the only way that you can reset TradeStation to default, or a factory default, which sometimes referred to as, is uninstalling and reinstalling. So that's the only way that you can revert back to the way that TradeStation comes originally, by just uninstalling or reinstalling. It's happened to me. Sometimes I just want to look at my TradeStation and see it the way that it comes on when I first install it, and I just do that. Of course, I mean, if you back up your work, you back up your indicators, you back up everything you created, you can always restore that into the new installation. Aiden, I see your question about using a macro to switch accounts in TradeStation. I haven't done that specific command in my experience, so I'm not really sure if that can be done. I'd have to look at the list of commands that are available in TradeStation and see if there's a way that you can do that. Um, the account, I'd have to do some testing, because I think the account is also saved, or the account that is active is saved with the workspace. Maybe send me an email specifically of what you're trying to accomplish, and then we'll work on a solution for that. Okay. Paul, you make a very good question, and this is a question from the chat. If you save a workspace on the simulated environment, will it affect the workstation or the workspaces on your live account? Remember, the workspaces um, are not connected to a specific environment. So if you create a workspace in the simulated environment, that same workspace is available in your live environment. So there's no distinction in this is a simulated workspace or this is a live workspace, because it's just a workspace. The connection is what changes what you can do in that workspace. For example, if I'm here in my two charts workspace, I can disconnect by just double clicking, double click again, type in my username and password, and if I click on live trading, it'll connect to my live account, but all my workspaces will still be the same. So the workspaces are not associated to any specific environment. They work on both. Richard, your question about backups, every time you save or you create a backup, TradeStation is going to date and timestamp on it. It puts a date and a timestamp on it. So I'm pretty sure you can revert to any of those past configurations. You can create custom names too. That's functionality that's available there. Just a matter of playing around with those features. Let me go to the last content here, because we have a few minutes to end the class. Page 16 of the PDF, we talk about desktop preferences. There's a couple things that I wanted to show you there, and we'll end the class. I know it's we've been here for almost 90 minutes, and I know that once we go further, we lose a lot of the concentration span of a lot of attendees. Desktop preferences, page 16. If you go to the File menu in TradeStation and you go to Preferences, you have the TradeStation Desktop preferences. We go to TradeStation Desktop, and there's a lot of tabs here with a lot of configuration or settings that you can turn on in TradeStation, or turn off if you don't like the settings. Let me just point out the ones that are most frequently used. Workspaces, the Workspaces tab. On startup, you open all workspaces from previous session. That feature is turned on by default. So if I have 4 workspaces open here in my TradeStation, and I decide that I want to exit TradeStation, next time that I log in, the same workspaces, or the same 4 workspaces that are open here, should open up automatically if that's turned on. It says on startup, open all workspaces from previous session. If you want to start with a blank canvas, you can choose do not open any workspaces, or just open the last active workspace, one single workspace, the one that I was working on last. So the one that's default is this one. So if you see that you're logging on to TradeStation, but TradeStation doesn't open any of your workspaces, come back to the preferences and see what setting is turned on. The same for desktops. If you go to the desktops tab, see on startup, open all desktops from previous session. That's the one that's turned on by default. Come here and make changes if you want to do so. There's some other things here that you may find useful, and you have a description on page 16 of the PDF of what each one of these tabs do. But let's go to the General tab. We have some window resizing options. We have confirmations when deleting a window from a workspace. I'm not sure if you noticed, but every time that you click on the X of a window, you get a confirmation asking if you are sure you want to delete the window. You can turn that on or off if you want to do so. So there's a lot of options here. What I suggest is going through all the different tabs and see how these can help you, use your TradeStation. If you have any questions, every single tab here, let's say that you go to Performance. Here's the TradeStation Performance Mode, which is auto-configured by TradeStation. But if you want to learn more about this functionality, there's a Help section or a Help button on almost every single dialog in TradeStation. So if you want to learn more about performance, just click on the Help here in the corner. TradeStation brings up the Help, and it opens Help automatically in the topic that you want to learn about. Here's Desktop Preferences, Performance. It explains what performance does. If I go back to my TradeStation and I go to, let's say, Status Bar, and I want to learn about this, just click on Help again here on the corner, and it takes you directly to the Help topic that explains and provides you additional information on the status bar. Yes, Marco, the class is being recorded. It does take us, a few days, I would say maybe a week or two, to upload those new classes to the web. But let me show you where the archive of the previous Learning TradeStation is. So let me click that link, share it with everyone. That's the video archive of Learning TradeStation. So if you want to look at the videos that or the classes that we did back in, I believe it was September, you can take a look at those classes. These ones are going to be uploaded. We're going to work on them to produce them and create, markers and so forth. It'll take us some time to do that, so I really appreciate the patience if you're looking for this specific instance of the class. Phil, your question about making the title bars darker when not active. That is a Windows functionality. I believe TradeStation is just taking on whatever colors are assigned to the Windows environment. So nothing you can do on TradeStation, but I would play around with your Windows settings and the appearance settings on Windows to see if you can change how those title bars are being colored. Okay, David, yes, I'll show you how to access those recordings on the website. If I come here to TradeStation.com, there it is. I have the website, TradeStation.com. You would go to Education, which is where all the material for TradeStation training is, Education, and go to University. Right here, click on TradeStation University, and it defaults right into Learning TradeStation. So you have all the lessons here. Today we did lesson number 1, which is desktop. One of the very interesting and beneficial things about coming here is that you can open up lesson 1, and it gives you a menu, all of the different topics that we covered today. So if you want to learn about window linking, you can just click on that and it'll jump the lesson to that area. So you don't have to sit through the whole 90 minutes of class. You can just jump to a specific section of the class. If you want to review the information about command line macros, you can just click on the link and it'll jump to that area of the video. And this is the way that we're going to do the classes going forward, just to make it easier for you to review the information. Yes, Phil, thank you very much for reminding me. Um, if you go to trading apps, there is a video station app that allows you to go and filter through all the videos available in our on-demand section. I believe it's already default to the TradeStation platform. If you don't see it in your TradeStation, it's probably because you have not upgraded to the most recent version, but you can always get it from the trading app store if you don't have it on your screen. But this is a great way for you to, sift through all the different videos that TradeStation makes available. All right. So I did show you how to access help on page 17. Great way for you to look at all the different topics. I know that TradeStation is a very sophisticated software. It does take you a lot of time to learn it. Notice that we packed these 90 minutes with a lot of information. Hopefully I didn't overwhelm you, but I do know and I do understand that it's a lot of information, and that's why we make the video archives so that you can play them at a later time at your own pace. But the whole series, the whole 12 classes, have as much information as this one. We're going to go through the whole series. Tomorrow, we're going to be doing lesson number 2. So I hope that I can see everyone for lesson number 2. If you haven't received the login link for lesson number 2, it's because you haven't registered yet. But tomorrow at 10:30 Eastern Time, we're going to start lesson number 2, which is the order bar and order entry preferences. Make sure you register for that lesson. So to conclude this event, I just want to say that it was a great pleasure spending this time with all of you. Keep my email address if I didn't get to your question, and send it to me via email. I'll make sure to respond to you. The room will stay open for a couple more minutes just to allow you some time to submit any final questions or comments. But for me and everyone else here at TradeStation, we want to thank you for attending, and I'll see everyone tomorrow. Goodbye, everyone.